This show is part of the RetroZap.com podcast network.
Are we ready?
Roll it.
This is what you can look forward to on episode 176 of Skywalking through Neverland.
These are for the kids who maybe hadn't seen the films, so we've got to establish these characters.
Knowing Disney, they'll name it something that's super ultra crazy long. And
like Skywalking through Star Wars land.
So I will go for anything that's geared towards kids. So it doesn't really stop me from enjoying the content.
Wait a minute, is this Sabine or Wonder Woman all of a sudden?
When you have Star Wars fans in charge, this is what happens. Now, the Claudite goes to press a red button, Richard.
I love this Claudite.
You're blowing my mind with these, Richard.
Ladies and gentlemen, boys and girls.
Hello, Skywalkers.
Listen. Up to Neverland.
I only hope that we never lose sight of one thing, that it was all started by a mouse.
Wow.
You are skywalking through Neverland.
Hey, Skywalkers. Are you ready to talk some Star Wars, Disney, and Forces of Destiny this week? Well, if your answer is a resounding yes, then we want to welcome you all to Skywalking through Neverland. This is your fun-filled and positive Star Wars and Disney podcast that takes you through a tour through the many decades of fandom. I am Richard Wolosky, and now everyone please say hello to my sweet D23 wife, Sarah.
Hey. Oh, I'm excited. D23 is this week. We've been so busy, we haven't really had a chance to think about it, but all of a sudden, it's happening in less than a week, and we are excited because I think there's going to be a lot of Star Wars as well as Disney Parks news to come out of this D23.
Everyone just take this weekend off.
Yeah.
There's going to be so much new news. And I'm going to predict that we're going to get something from Han Solo, the Han Solo movie.
Han Solo movie.
Yeah.
I'm going to predict we're going to learn more about Star Wars Land.
Oh, yeah. Okay, Star Wars Land, we got that. I'm going to say a Han Solo sizzle reel, not a trailer, but a sizzle reel that will include a message from Ron Howard.
Yeah, and then Joey Pittman in our Facebook group also thinks that at the Disney Legends ceremony, they always have a surprise Disney legend. Like last time in 2015, remember Johnny Depp came out on stage dressed as a pirate, Jack Sparrow,
throwing grapes at everybody.
Which was awesome because we were like in the front row and we're like, yes, it's Jack Sparrow. So that was cool.
He hit me in the eye with a grape.
But Joey thinks that because Carrie Fisher and Mark Hamill are being inducted as Disney Legends, that
let's add this one up.
Harrison Ford may be the surprise Disney legend.
Not anymore.
I think that would be exciting.
Yeah, that's gotta happen. Let's wager on that right now.
Yes. And then, Dustin Whalen thinks there will be a third Star Wars spin-off announcement. I think there might be two.
I don't
You don't think so?
Just because they really want to focus on Han Solo, and if they announce something else, it's like pushing Han Solo to the back.
Yeah, but you know what? Traditionally, in these big, giant panels, they have put out their schedule of movies for the next, 2 to 3 years.
And you're right, but traditionally, they don't fire a director 3 weeks from finishing principal photography either.
I know.
So I think they're going to slow things down. If they do announce another spinoff, what do you think the reaction is going to be from the audience? Like, oh, guys, we're getting them every 5 months. Let's enjoy the process.
I don't know.
I don't think they're going to announce anything, and if they do, it's going to be a little too much. It's like, less is more. Less is more.
I'm predicting they will announce it. You're predicting they don't? How much you want to put down on that?
Let's put down this recording device right here.
No, I'm going to put down $20.
If you win, you get to throw it away.
No.
If I win, I get to keep it.
No. Well, Justin Smith on Facebook is saying, will there be another Drew Struzan poster?
For The Last Jedi?
I hope so. Yeah, for The Last Jedi. We are getting our original Drew Struzan for the Force Awakens poster framed right now. So
when
exciting.
That company who, I forget what their name is, but they were printing them off for free, printing them as you waited.
Yeah.
I was the last one. I was the last one.
You had to get a ticket to get those.
Yeah, and the line was like 3 hours long.
Mm-hmm.
I got there a Sunday night. Happened. Yeah, Sunday night. I got in line just asking, hey, are there any more? They said, yeah, here you go, take one. Oh, okay, great. And I got the very last printed Drew Struzan poster for The Force Awakens, which we're getting framed right now. We can't tell you where it's being framed because I want to make sure it's there when we get back.
Okay, so, you know what? We already kind of started the show, but we like to start each and every show with a giant Wookiee hug. So here's a belated Wookiee hug. To our family of Skywalkers who listen to the show every week, we want to thank you guys for listening. And also, you guys on YouTube got a special treat today on our live stream because we were playing around with YouTube filters. So if you go over to YouTube and watch our live stream, you may see some fun bubbles, or right now we're in 8mm. So it's really cool.
Yeah, we're going back to the vintage days, and we are recording this in 8mm film.
Yes. So head on over to youtube.com/Skywalking Through Neverland to check that out. All right. Well, Skywalkers, we love it when you tweet at us. We are at Skywalking Pod, or post in our Facebook group where we're sharing a lot of love for D23 right now, and also planning some meetups. All right, so Richard, where are we recording this?
We are recording this from Long Beach, California on July the 10th, 2017. Now we got to find out what time it is on this Monday morning.
Let's ask Minnie Mouse.
It's 10:52. Good morning.
Oh, thank you, Minnie.
Yay.
Now, coming up on this power-packed episode, we'll be talking with Johnamarie Macias from the WookieeGunner.com, Galactic Fashion, and Rebels Chat. And we'll be talking all about the complete first season of 8 micro episodes of Star Wars Forces of Destiny.
Wow.
We just posted all 8 episodes as of last week, and we're gonna review them all.
Yeah, it's gonna be fun. Well, it is a fun chat. Also on this episode, we have shoutouts, Skywalker of the Week, and things we want to share.
But first, we want to thank everyone for sending in a clip about their fandom highlight moment. We really appreciate it, and everyone has got an opinion of what they think pushed fandom in a new direction, or how it affected them. So not just a story about remembering this or that, but something that really progressed fandom. Was it a film? Was it a TV show release? A theme park opening? Something that said to fandom, hey, you know what? We're going to push you guys on a whole new level that included you in this universe. So you guys had sent things in. We had done a recording with Swara a while back. So keep them coming, guys. Keep them coming. Keep them about 2 or 3 minutes for these clips. And start with your name and go on to what you think pushed fandom in Star Wars or Disney. Now, Sarah, if they want to do this, where should they send these to?
All right. So if you guys want to be included in our episodes, you need to send either an audio clip or a request to be recorded to our email, which is share@skywalkingthroughneverland.com.
Now, if you caught our podcast stage show, we did a whole presentation on this, and it was a lot of fun, got a lot of great reaction. So we thought, hey, let's do this and let more of these Skywalkers share in on this, because I'm sure everyone's got a story about how fandom was progressed and how it impacted them.
Right.
So really excited to hear these stories.
Either Star Wars or Disney.
All right. Now, before we move on to that big show, let's reveal the winner of last week's Yub Dub Challenge. Now, last week we had played a foreign dub of a Star Wars or Disney film, and we asked the Skywalkers to guess the film, the scene, and if they can, the language. So, you know what? Let's go ahead and roll the clip one more time and see if you can guess what it is, although it's too late to vote.
Okej. Jag har en person i skapet mitt. Jag har en person i skapet mitt. Jeg har en person I skapet mitt. For svagt til å klare meg selv der ute, eller hva, mor? Vel, fortell det til min steg.
All right, on Twitter, we had a couple responses, and the Skywalker that came the closest was 2 people. So I want to give a shout out to Randy Crane, who tweeted, "That clip has to be tangled when Rapunzel has locked Flynn in her closet. I've watched it with my daughter a dozen times, including yesterday." Aw, good job, Randy. I did ask you what is the language, because you did not guess a language, but you never responded. So, But you are also in line with Sala, who also guessed Rapunzel in the Tower in German. And Swara, you were close as well. So Randy was more specific, so I liked that. Swara, you definitely had Rapunzel in the Tower correct. And you did guess a language, but it was the wrong language.
Yeah, so you know what? Let's deem this a tie.
Okay.
All right, everyone gets a participation award.
Woohoo!
You millennials.
Now, what was the language?
Okay, so they were right. It was Rapunzel in the tower after she just knocked out Flynn with a frying pan.
Yay.
And the language was Norwegian.
Whoa.
Norwegian. So let's go ahead and now play the English clip.
Okay. I've got a person in my closet. I've got a person in my closet. I've got a person in my closet. Too weak to handle myself out there, huh, Mother? Well, tell that to my frying pan.
I love it. I love that scene. It's so funny.
Yeah.
Terrible, but funny.
Yeah.
Swara, you were very close with German. I mean, that was just a country away, basically Denmark to...
Only a couple thousand miles away, but you were close.
No, it's less than that. Europe is much, much smaller.
Okay, so I know nothing about Lord of the Rings. I know nothing about sports. I know nothing about geography.
Yeah.
Okay, that's abundantly clear.
Pretty much just right across the North Sea.
Yeah, we get it. Thank you. All right, so everyone, thank you so much for playing. And now, here are things we want to share.
Things we want to share. Things we want to share. Things we want to share.
D23 Expo is this week. Oh my gosh. Richard, are you excited?
Oh, yeah. I would say I'm just as excited about this as I was about Celebration.
I know.
For different reasons. Because Celebration, we were celebrating fandom, but now we're going to get announcements. Mm-hmm. We're going to learn things.
That's true. Yeah, so that's like the difference between these two expos, I guess. Is Celebration is more for celebrating what has come, and D23 is looking forward to what will be.
Yes. How they can grab your next dollar.
Yes.
You know what? Fine, take them all.
They have a new Ewok. A new exclusive Ewok.
Yeah, didn't Joey Pittman post that?
It's all over.
Yeah.
All right.
We'll get that one.
Yeah. Okay. All right. So, in our Facebook group, plans are being made for the D23 Expo. Now, if you have not yet joined our Facebook group, it's a good place to get to know other Skywalkers and plan meetups and things. So, you just search Facebook for Skywalking Through Neverland group, and it should pop right up. You can request to join, and make sure you answer the 2 questions that pop up. Otherwise, we won't let you in.
There are so many people on hold waiting to get in, but gotta answer the questions. That's how life works.
If you invite someone to the group, like if you're a part of the group and invite someone, just make sure they know about the questions, because I think there's been some people who have invited people, but they haven't answered the questions, so we just don't want to let them in. So there you go.
Yeah, gotta follow the rules.
We want to make our group safe for everyone who's in it.
Now let's talk about the meetups at D23 Expo.
Okay, so here we are. Here's a couple places that we will be, so that hopefully we can meet with you guys, take a selfie, Skywalker selfie, whatever. So here we go. Let's see. We will be in line for the major panels on Friday and Saturday. Really early, probably like 5:30 a.m., something like that. Who knows?
Well, we'll tweet it out.
We will. We'll tweet it out. We'll check Twitter to see how the line is doing. I know several Skywalkers will probably be there before us, like Anthony Fox, perhaps Margaret Mays. So while we're waiting in that crazy line, it's pretty easy to like just go in and out and say hi to people as you're waiting those multiple hours. So that is a great place to see us. So please, tweet at us or message us and say, hey, I'm in line. Where are you guys? And we can do a little impromptu meetup.
Yeah, not so much a meetup. Impromptu meetup.
Impromptu.
That's a good way to put it.
Say hello.
Right.
Yes. Okay. Also, on Friday, July 14th, we will be attending the Mousetalgia meetup at 8:30 p.m. They will be meeting up at the large fountain right outside the main entrance to the convention center. And I've been listening to this podcast a lot, and it's really fun because you know how we interview a lot of old Star Wars people, like vintage creators, Star Wars people. Well, Mousetalgia interviews a lot of Disney people. And so it's kind of like we're kind of the I feel like we're kind of equivalent podcasts. So I really want to meet these guys and
girls.
And yes, because there's 4 of them.
I'm sorry, did you say that was on Friday or Saturday?
This is Friday night.
Friday the 14th.
Yes.
Gotcha. Okay.
Friday night the 14th. They're having their own meetup, and I would love to be there. So we're going to be there. So if you want to say hi to a couple different podcasters, please come meet us. Once again, that's 8:30 p.m. at the large fountain right outside the main entrance to the convention. And you can't miss it. And on Sunday, July 16th, Richard and I will be hovering around the Disney Music Emporium booth from 11 a.m. to noon, and most likely well before that, for the Michael Giacchino signing and meeting. I've already met him, and Richard, you already got me a birthday greeting from him, but it's good to get FaceTime. So we want to say hello again, of course. And I was thinking, and I know several Skywalkers are planning on doing that, including Donald Wicks. So, whoever's there, we could have a little impromptu meetup. And then also after that signing, if you are still around, we can all hop on over to the Star Wars Land booth right there and get a big group picture in the Star Wars Land line. So
nice.
I'm excited about that. I think we must have some kind of group picture
of us waiting in line. It's like,
yeah,
wherever you guys are, we'll follow you and we'll form a line.
Yeah, at that Star Wars Land booth. And honestly, I know I don't buy t-shirts for things, but if they have like some kind of t-shirt, like a pre t-shirt of Star Wars Land, totally, I have to get it.
Now, going on with our prediction theme,
yes.
Do you think we're going to get the name of Star Wars Land?
Yes.
You do?
Mm-hmm.
Okay.
I think so.
Okay.
And a little more details and some more concept art that's more detailed as well.
Yeah. All right. I don't think we're going to get a name since it's a few more years away.
Mm-hmm.
I think they're going to hold off a little bit longer. They may tease some things, maybe put some things out there as feelers. But we will see. But I don't think we're going to get an official announcement. I hope I'm wrong. I want a name. Although we're just going to keep on calling it Star Wars Land no matter what.
Well, unless they name it something that's easily hashtagable, in which case that will be the transferred hashtag. But knowing Disney, they'll name it something that's super ultra crazy long. And
like Skywalking through Star Wars Land. That could only be best Star Wars Land.
Exactly.
Hashtag that.
Yes. So, yeah. So we'll see. But my prediction is we're getting a name.
So we can't wait to see all you Skywalkers at D23 Expo. And if you're going to be sitting by me and Sarah, bring earplugs. We scream a lot.
Richard's pretty loud.
Yeah. Only when I get excited. But now, speaking of excited, now let's start talking about Forces of Destiny.
Yes.
Now, many of you Skywalkers had seen the Heroines of Star Wars panel at Star Wars Celebration Orlando, and many of you didn't. But let's recap highlights that lead into this week's topic of Forces of Destiny.
Yeah.
Lots of great things were said that I think would be a good lead into our big discussion with Johnamarie Macias.
Definitely.
Now, this panel featured Dave Filoni, Ashley Eckstein, Tiya Sircar, and a surprise appearance by Daisy Ridley herself.
Super exciting. So let's start with Dave Filoni talking about why this is short-form storytelling and what emphasis you should be putting on these little micro episodes.
I think this is really important.
Short form is a good way to start out. It's a good way to produce some things and experiment. And so animated shorts based on Star Wars, that these are like little tiny stories that can start to fill the gaps here and there. The important thing about them for us at animation was that if we're doing these, they have to be authentic. They have to be telling you a piece of the story that would fit in the Star Wars universe. I look at all of it as kind of myth and fables and fairy tales, and so you'll see things in these stories that happen, and to me, it's real. It might happen slightly differently if it was ever done in live action, but it's a version of the tale as tales are told over and over again. So you'll see elements of these stories and they had to feel true to what Star Wars is. And plus, honestly, it's just really great to see these characters in 2D.
I agree more about seeing these characters in 2D because we haven't seen them in 2D since the micro series of the Clone Wars. And you would think by now fans would know that this is like for an experiment. But you could also argue experiment. Of course, you could do a half-hour show and people would be all over it. Since we're losing Rebels, we need another half-hour Star Wars animated show to quench our Star Wars thirst week in and week out. And I think it's really important that he says that these are myths and fables, because that means that they're not maybe 100% accurate, and they don't need to be. Like when you tell a myth or a story, maybe not every detail is precise.
Or you're stretching the truth a bit. But...
Exactly. So I think that is really important to know when watching these, because I know even we were going, now where does this fit in the timeline, and who is this, and how come this person doesn't have this and they don't have that, and little details like that. So I think maybe when Maz Kanata introduces the series like she does, I think she should say, now, these are myths and stories and a little fable, so don't take everything to heart, okay? We might play fast and loose with some of the details, so deal with it.
Yeah, interesting.
Can we get Maz to say that?
I think that would be fun. I think she should say that.
All right, now let's move on to the next clip where Dave Filoni once again tells us why they're using these particular stories and what characters they will focus on.
Yeah, I think the cool thing, was that it was just, we want to tell interesting stories, and we just had all these great female characters we wanted to put in them. It wasn't like this targeted effort that I think things feel like sometimes. It's like, Ventress, it wasn't a conversation, she's just a great villain. Ahsoka can be a great hero, and I know when we talked about it early on, George said Anakin had a Padawan, and Henry Gilroy and I were like, well, we'd like to be a girl. Because I've seen the development of, a young boy character in Luke before, and then with Anakin, and I said, well, how about a girl? And George was all for it. He dove right in for that, and it was just something we felt was all natural to do, because you hadn't seen a lot of it. There was space for it. But the trick for me, especially with these characters like Ahsoka and Sabine, is that they do everything. It's not just like you hear a lot of it's like, oh, they're badass.
So I'm sure George was all over the fact that, hey, let's now have a centralized girl character, because remember, back when he was writing Star Wars, he did toy with the idea of having Luke be a girl.
That's right.
So I'm glad Dave and Henry Gilroy stepped in and said, hey, George, how about this? And George was like, great. They can do everything that the guys can do, so it makes a whole lot of sense.
Yeah, and, Dave Filoni mentioned something about it's a tradition, a Star Wars tradition to go back in the timeline. Does that mean, going to the prequels? Is that what he's talking about?
Yeah, going back to the prequels, to the Star Wars original trilogy timeline.
Right.
So every timeline is up for grabs, all the way up to The Force Awakens.
Nice. Okay, well, like any good panel, there has to be some special guests, right? So in a surprise turn, Daisy Ridley then joins Ashley, Tiya, and Dave on stage to an eruption of applause. So here she is talking about coming back to Rey.
I did this, I think, in November for the first time, and I really couldn't remember what had happened, so I came back to do it for the second time. I was like, oh, yeah, that. But it was really cool. It's obviously the shorter format, and I don't like the sound of my own voice, but it was very exciting doing something that looked so beautiful. And there's super fun things in there, with lots of fun noises. So it's wonderful to be able to bring Rey to different kind of things.
So fun noises. What is she talking about? Like the fact that when you do... record something.
Sound
Just
effects.
like,
I took it as coming back to the BB-8 sound effects, Tito, and all the fun sound effects.
Okay. I'm just thinking of her thinking about her recording session, and I'm sure she had to do a lot of,
Maybe,
stuff like that.
Yeah. If you thought every convention was just scattered from end to end with Rey cosplayers, can you imagine how it's going to be now?
Aww.
Oh, little girls will eat this up.
Yeah.
But she said that she had to come back, which means maybe she recorded one episode, then came back to do another episode. Mm-hmm. If these are just 2 minutes, does she not have more than a couple of minutes to spare in the recording studio? Maybe between doing The Last Jedi and all those Josh Gad videos, maybe she didn't have a whole lot of time. Maybe there's a lot of stuff that was cut out, but yeah, I'd want to hear more background on that. Is there were these scripts even longer and they just cut them all down?
Oh, I'm sure. Because you just, it's the meat of the story. So you start with more than you have.
Right, but being animation, with all the animatics and all the pre-planning they do, they know exactly what's going to be going on. So I just want to know why she had to come back time and time again to record what amounts to maybe a minute or two of dialogue.
Right.
They all have their reasons.
It's true.
Who am I to say? Now, in a touching moment, Tiya Sircar talks about how much her new action figure is impacting her. Because right before this, Amy Ratcliffe, who was moderating this panel, had surprised Ashley and Tiya and Daisy with their toys. Aww. Mind-blowing. And Tiya just Dave Filoni was talking about something, and Tiya just had to stop and say, you know what, I've got to say this.
So here you go.
I just wanted to interject one thing really
Please.
quick. But as I'm admiring how great these figures look, I was just thinking also when I was a kid, I don't want to get all, weird and mushy or anything, but when I was a kid, when I went to the toy store, none of the toys looked anything like me. And so I'm looking at this and I'm looking at that, and I just think, these are so much more inclusive and representative, and I wish this was around when I was a little girl. That's all I wanted to say.
Aww. I love this comment because, it's one thing to say, yeah, let's have diverse things on the shelf. Let's do it, it's best for everyone. But it's another to actually see how it impacts a kid or a person, one kid. That's the ultimate feedback.
And then having that figure be you.
Yeah.
And there had been other ethnic dolls up until this point, but in the Star Wars world,
yeah,
that's got to be mind-blowing. And you know how Tiya she wears her feelings on her sleeve?
Yes, she does.
So
or in her eyes.
she fought so hard to hold those feelings in because you could just tell how much she was loving this doll. And while Dave was talking, she's over here playing with the toy.
Aww.
How great is this? And if I were Tiya, I'd want to go to Toys R Us every day and just hang around in the aisles and just see who picks up the toy and who reacts to it. And boy, I would get a job at Toys R Us just so I can monitor this behavior.
It's a big thing to have something look like you that's representative of you on that shelf.
Uh-huh.
For me, I love Rapunzel so much because back in, growing up, there wasn't a female princess who looked like me. There was Belle, and I related to her, but she was brown hair, brown eyed. There was Little Mermaid, but of the newer princesses, none of them touched me as much as Rapunzel because they didn't look like me.
I kind of had it easy.
Yeah.
Because in
like
the
Luke.
70s, I had long blonde hair,
Yep.
blue eyes, and I saw Luke. It's like, hey, that's me on the shelf.
Well, and that's part of the reason you are so dedicated to Star Wars, I think. I think because you found that connection with that character, not just because of what was inside Luke, but because he looked like you. And that's a very powerful way of responding to something.
And now I'm just so glad that they're expanding those horizons and putting out more figures that represent each and every culture and ethnicity. And let's keep that going.
Yeah.
Let's have Sabine in every single outfit and every single hairstyle just to get more Sabines out there.
Well, the little girls are gonna mess with her hair if it's If it's a little short, but they'll mess with it. You'll see.
All right, tangent. Which of these action figures do you want the most?
Oh my gosh. Honestly, probably Leia.
You know what? Let's just say we'll get the whole set.
Yeah, okay, good.
When did they come out? July 31st or August 1st?
Yeah, one of those two.
All right, we'll go down and just get the whole set, okay? Be fair across the board.
Aww.
Now, speaking of action figures and feeling left out, Dave Filoni chimes in and talks about his feelings about being left out of not having his own action figure.
But see, you could get a little director that could help you with the storytelling, and he could be on the side and be like faster, more intense, and
And then he'd have like a removable cowboy hat.
Inspirational. Maybe it could be a talking one that, like, you pull the cord and do another take. Something like that. It would be,
do it again, but better this time.
Anyway, I don't know.
And not
probably wouldn't sell. That'd be the depressing thing. I'd go to the store, it'd be a peg warmer. I'd have to go talk to all the little Daves and be like, sorry, man. Seemed like a good idea at the time. And, all the Sabines are sold out. The Ahsokas are gone. The Reys are gone. It's,
people have busted open yours to take the cowboy hat out.
I'll be there with the Rancor Keeper or someone like that. Like, hey, what's up, man? How's it going?
So we have the Rancor Keeper, Dave Filoni, and Constable Zuvios.
I think Dave Filoni likes Toy Story a lot. Imagining his poor figures being left on the shelf.
So, when was the last time a kid looked at you?
Aww.
When they realized I wasn't in the film? Well, sorry there, Constable, but you had that one coming.
Oh.
So, as a kid, I always wanted a George Lucas action figure.
Really?
Because delving into every aspect of Star Wars, I knew who George Lucas was. I knew who Irvin Kershner was. I knew who Gary Kurtz was and John Williams. And I've always read the behind-the-scenes books. So I always wanted to complete the vision and having behind-the-scenes dioramas.
I think you were the exception, though.
All right, now let's wrap up the highlights from the Heroines of the Star Wars panel. Here is Dave Filoni talking about the future for storytelling with women in Star Wars and who he owes the credit to and the key to writing for women.
One of the biggest influences for me in anything that I write is my wife, Anne. She is tremendously well-read and educated, and she's a huge influence on everything that I do. I couldn't write the Darksaber episode without listening to her and her friends. And, I think any of you in this conversation that, are trying to say, well, what makes a character great? And if you're going to write a female character, and honestly, if you're a guy like me, the first thing you have to do is listen. Stop talking and listen to what these women have to say. And I'll be honest, it's harder than you think because you're not wired that way when you're a little boy. You're told to get after it and do things that you want. So, but it's more the way of the Jedi, to be honest, as we should learn to listen to other people and be patient and open-minded. And that's what I tried to put into these stories. And for me, when I look at it in the broader spectrum, it's not just something that's about the characters on screen. It has to become part of something that's the people making the episodes behind the camera in every aspect of what we're doing, and Lucasfilm is dedicated to that. I mean, I'm very happy our lead animator on this project is named Tatiana. She's a wonderful Star Wars fan. A lot of Brad's crew. We have wonderful women making these shorts, and when I visited them as Ghostbot, I said, I just want you guys to make the show that you always wanted when you were little girls. Make this what you want it to be. We need the influence. We need the voice. That's what we need.
All right, were you told to get after it as a little boy?
I think anyone, boys or girls, are told the same thing. If you want something, you can't just sit by and wait for it to happen. That's the one lesson my mom really instilled in me. Mm-hmm. Be assertive. If you want something, it's not going to come to you. You got to go and get it.
Okay.
But I do love his message of shut up. Quiet. Just listen. It takes a while to get there. I know as a I don't want to keep saying as a guy. I don't want to say as a guy. Mm-hmm. I think if anyone has got an opinion, they're more likely to want to just keep on expressing that opinion.
Right.
But there's something to be said there for stopping and listening.
Right.
Because every once in a while, someone will say something. It's like, oh, you know what? I didn't think about that. And I'm glad I did stop and listen because now I can think about it in a whole different point of view.
Yeah, exactly. And I think listening is important, whether you're a guy or a girl. I think it's a good lesson for anyone, just to listen to what someone is saying and then be able to respond. Like, say your piece, but then make sure that you listen to that other point of view. It's a good lesson.
I can say at my age, it took me a little while to get there because I just love speaking my mind. But every once in a while, and I've learned this, I know, the life lesson, hang back and just listen up. So thank you, Dave, and thank you to all the heroines of Star Wars for instilling all these upcoming lessons, as we will see in Star Wars Forces of Destiny.
For many years, something that's been really important to Star Wars is these characters that little kids can grow up and recognize a little bit of themselves.
So with Forces of Destiny, there was an opportunity to tell some additional stories around these terrific characters from throughout the franchise.
Forces of Destiny, they're these almost bite-sized, short, self-contained adventures that take place in different time periods. It's very much a real part of Star Wars.
Well, we were very fortunate to have Daisy reprising her role as Rey.
BB-8, this way!
Felicity Jones as Jyn Erso.
I suggest you pick on someone your own size.
We have Lupita back as Maz.
It's a nice night for telling stories.
This new series of shorts just opens up a whole new realm of possibilities.
With a few more months until we get the next and last season of Star Wars Rebels, Lucasfilm gives us the next phase in animated storytelling with Star Wars Forces of Destiny. If the Genndy Tartakovsky Clone Wars microseries left you wanting more bite-sized stories, then you will not be disappointed.
Here with us now to discuss this first wave of 8 episodes in this series is Johnamarie Macias from WookieeGunner.com and Galactic Fashion.
Hey, Johnamarie.
Hey guys, how are you doing? How are you feeling about these awesome Forces of Destiny shorts?
Well, we are feeling great because it's new Star Wars.
Yeah.
And we especially wanted to ask you on the show because I know you talk Star Wars Rebels with your mom on Rebels Chat, right?
Yes, that's right. So we talk about Star Wars Rebels on that show, and it's exciting to share that part of the universe with my mom.
Aw. And I know you're a big Star Wars TV fan, so this seemed like right up your alley as well.
Yes, big on animation.
That's why you were the chosen one.
Yeah.
All right, now, let's give a little background for those who don't know anything about Forces of Destiny. How dare they? Now, this series is official canon and is being directed by Dave Filoni and Brad Rau. Hope I'm pronouncing that right. Brad Rau. And written by Jen Murrow. And you can see the 2 to 3 minute shorts on Disney's YouTube channel. And on July 9th, today, Disney Channel will air them as interstitials. And Tracy Canobio has confirmed with us on Twitter that an additional 8 more episodes will air in October, including one featuring Rey and Finn. Now, what is your overall opinion of this series so far, and how does the intended age group impact on how you watch the show? Johnamarie, let's start with you.
Alrighty. Well, I'm a big fan of Lucasfilm Animation. I really love what they're doing with Rebels, with Lego Freemakers, and now with Forces of Destiny. And it's really cool that this show is basically just fun deleted scenes. And they pretty much inform things that we're already very familiar with. And so they fill in little gaps here and there. And I just love how they're meant to just highlight heroic moments in these characters' lives. And, they're very small, but they're impactful at the same time. And so I'm glad that they're highlighting these female characters who, a lot of the time they often get lost in the stories of their male counterparts, like Padme and Hera, where the focus is more on Anakin and Ezra, respectively. So, they kind of get lost in there. But I like that they're focusing on these characters through these shorts, and that we're exposing younger kids and the younger generation to these shorts, to Star Wars, essentially. And so I'm naturally a kid at heart, and so I will go for anything that's geared towards kids. So it doesn't really stop me from enjoying the content. So especially when I know people like Jen Muro and Carrie Beck and Dave Filoni and the rest of the Lucasfilm story group are working on this and putting a lot of passion and thought into it. So I'm all for it.
And when you watched these initially, did you look at it through the eyes of someone of your age? I'm not going to ask you what that is. Or did you watch it thinking, okay, this is meant for the really, really young child, so I'm not going to be as discerning as I would be watching a film?
Yeah, well, I'm 31. I'm not ashamed of it.
Oh, you're a kid. You're a kid.
I know, right? But yeah, when I first saw them, I thought, yeah, I can see that this is definitely geared more towards a younger audience. And that's really not a bad thing. I mean, that way young kids get exposed to Star Wars at a younger age, and they'll be interested in certain characters like Rey or Jin or Ahsoka, and then branch out when they're older to researching more about those characters, and then find the Star Wars, the Clone Wars or Rogue One, and then, be more interested in being more involved in Star Wars. And that's really what's really great about these. These are a great way to jumpstart that sort of interest in Star Wars.
Yeah, right on. So, Sarah, how about you? What was your overall opinion when you first started watching the series?
So, as with anything, I think I like some more than others. There was a few that I really liked, like just this recent one with Jin and the Loth cat. I mean, how can you not love a girl and her cat?
Yeah.
So that was cute. And I was thinking about how they're playing these as interstitials on the Disney Channel. And I know when I watch a show on the Disney Channel, say Tangled the series, you always get a whole bunch of stuff before you actually start seeing the show that's been DVR'd. And so thinking about this as one of those things that's going to be shown, like a 3-minute short, I think kids would naturally gravitate toward these. And I think they'd be involved, and with today's short attention spans, I think it would work for them. And just speaking as an adult, I get a kick out of seeing familiar faces and creatures, as well as hearing familiar sounds, like the Ewoks or the Wampa Roar. Right. So yes, they might be introducing young kids to these characters, but for us as adults, we can see the connections in the larger Star Wars universe.
Okay.
What about you, Richard?
I'm happy with this. I'm very, very happy. And like you said, there's some that are a little bit better than others. And like Johnamarie, you had said, these seem like deleted scenes, or if they kept the cameras rolling for another few minutes, what we'd get are these shorts. And I'm not quite sure why we're getting these fill in the scenes rather than shorts that would really define the characters or do some more character building with these shorts. And we are to a point for the kids who hadn't seen the films, then we're going to get stuff that they don't know. But a lot of the information we are given, we've already known from watching The Force Awakens, from watching Rebels, The Clone Wars, or Rogue One. So that's where I am right there, knowing what that intended audience is, but at the same time wanting something a little bit more for the older fans, because these shorts aren't just going to be watched by the younger kids. They're going to be watched by fans everywhere. For the fans that are hungry for more Rebels, we're going to be watching these, and I wish that some of these were maybe a little bit longer, so that way you could maybe do both.
Okay.
Right.
All right. Now, with the animation style, it's been getting a lot of flack online, but Johnamarie, what do you think of this style? Does it bother you? Do you like it?
I love this style personally because I like to draw from time to time, and I'm not all that great at it really in capturing the likeness of a character. I always have to have some sort of a reference, and the reference needs to be as basic as possible for me to actually for me to actually see what I see and then draw that on a sheet of paper. So this really is a very simple way of representing the characters and the backgrounds and whatnot that we're so familiar with, but they still capture some of their likenesses. Like Padme really looked like Padme. So yeah, I personally like to draw, and so I've been drawing these characters for the past couple of days, and the style makes it really easy for me to just draw a line and go, oh my gosh, that's exactly what I'm seeing on the screen, and I'm actually drawing it. It's coming out just like how I see it.
You know what? That's a very good point, because little kids will be drawing these, and you show them something like the Clone Wars season 4. Forget it. There's no way a 4-year-old's gonna do that. But you give a 4-year-old some crayons and you show them this picture, it's gonna be a little bit easier for them. So I think that had a lot to do with the development of the style.
Like this little Lothcat face right here that's smiling at us.
Got a screensaver.
Yes.
A big old smiling Lothcat.
Oh.
So, Sarah, what did you think about this style?
Oh, well, I really liked it too. Must be an artist thing, because I do appreciate the fact that they've taken, especially like stuff that's culled from live action, so like Coruscant, or I guess not Lothal, but like Coruscant or Hoth base, stuff like that, and they have made those simple lines, but yet it's still, I mean, it's Coruscant, exactly Coruscant. So I really like the animation style, especially in the opening of the imposter inside. So that's that establishing shot of Coruscant. It was really neat. And I really
That's the Padme Ahsoka episode. Okay.
Yes. And then I especially loved all the design, the character and the backgrounds of the Padawan Path, which is the Ahsoka and Anakin episode. And Ahsoka herself, I think her design is my favorite. I think I just love, she's so artistic. You know how I always like to get wall art of Little Mermaid, because I think I just like the colors and she's so flowy. Well, Ahsoka's the same way. She just looks good on art. So
yeah, her colors really pop out at you.
Yeah, exactly. And also in the Padawan Path, they had that force tree, so I thought that looked really neat as well.
Well, I can see where some people would be put off by the animation style coming off of the Clone Wars and then Rebels, and then we come down to this, which is flat 2D style.
Right.
But doesn't bother me at all, because it's very appeasing to the intended audience, which is the 3 to 5 year olds. I can see them all over this. They're gonna really gobble this up. And plus, for me, it harkens back to the Clone Wars micro series style. And then look what that developed into when it went on to the half-hour format.
Right.
So, do we want this to change? If I'm sure they're going to go to a half-hour format at some point. Now, when they do we want to see the style continue, or do we want to see it go to more of a 3D style?
That's a great question. I mean, I really like the production company that's working on this, Ghostbot, and they're interacting with fans online, seeing some of the reaction videos and sharing some of that on social media. So I really like the enthusiasm and the passion that they have for this project. So I wouldn't want to take it away from them. So, I mean, I wouldn't mind seeing it continue in this 2D format, especially since that's starting to come back now with DuckTales and Tangled series. So yeah, I really love that now that we're coming back to that, and I'd like to stick with it.
So you said it was at Ghostbot?
Yeah, Ghostbot. Yeah.
Okay. So that's good to know in case anyone wants to get in contact with them on Twitter.
Yeah.
Yeah.
You know what? We've had so much 3D animation. Let's try something new. Let's stick with this.
Yeah. Well, one thing I'm noticing actually, as we're talking about the animation style, is the fact that the backgrounds have no outlines. So everything kind of flows, or if they do have outlines on the buildings, it's a lighter color, whereas the characters pop because they are outlined in black. And as anyone who has done face painting knows, if you want your design to pop, you outline it in black so that whoosh, it pops off the face. So in this way, they're making the characters pop and hopefully making them pop in kids' minds. So I think it works great.
Yeah, and this just screams, buy me as a toy.
Yes.
And you know what? I got no problems with that. All right, now let's start talking about each individual episode because there's so much to talk about with each of these 8 episodes. And let's give a huge shout out to Tracy Canobio and David Acord and Leland Shee and BJ Priester for helping out with the research on this because we want to get our facts right. And there were certain questions about timelines and characters and species, and they were extremely helpful. On Twitter, yes. That was me tweeting.
I know.
I was out there all day tweeting with these people going, okay, who's this and who's that and when's this going to happen and how about this?
Yeah.
You know what? Someone had mentioned something about a restraining order on Twitter. I don't know what that means. But you know what? We got our answers. We want to make sure that all the Skywalkers know that we know what we're talking about now.
Yeah, you guys are always on top of it. So I applaud you guys.
You know what? That's all the validation we wanted to hear, okay?
The choices we make, the actions we take, moments, both big and small, shape us into forces of destiny.
All right, so now let's start with episode 1.
And this is The Sands of Jakku. So this episode picks up right after Rey meets BB-8 in The Force Awakens, and she agrees that the droid can stay with her. And BB-8 goes, woo! I love that part. Now, in this episode, they don't get far before they are attacked by a Night Watcher worm, which is that creature that poked its head out of the sand after BB-8 leaves Poe. And we discover in the short that the Night Watcher worm is a lot bigger than he looks.
Come on, keep up. Wait, don't move. That's a Night Watcher worm. It feeds on junk. Now we run. It probably hasn't eaten today. We need to find something else to feed it.
And I was so hoping we'd get more of that creature in The Force Awakens.
Oh, yeah.
But no, it just pops its head out and that's it. So when this was the episode that we saw at Celebration Orlando.
Yes.
So I was so happy to see that we're starting with this one creature I've always wanted to know more about. And now we know of its diet and its size.
Yeah.
So, Johnamarie, what did you think about this episode?
Oh, it was a great way to kick it off because the whole point of the series is showing these small acts of heroism, and heroism comes in many shapes and forms. And I really liked that Rey, she didn't take it to heart that this creature was, trying to kill this little droid, so essentially. So she knew that the creature was just trying to eat. It was just trying to survive, and so she fed it. And there was that beautiful moment where she is being kind to a creature that was harming them simply because of survival. So I just really love the compassion that we see Rey give out to this creature. Yeah.
Yeah, I felt this one had one of the strongest morals of making the unlikeliest of friends, especially when it comes to helping each other out. Like Johnamarie, you just said, she understood the motivation of this creature. It was hungry. So she wasn't going to fault him on that. But, don't go eat my BB-8 droid. This is going to drive 3 more movies. And in the end, she finds a hunk of metal and throws it to him. And you know what? Night Watcher worm is very happy, goes on with his day, and you can tell these two are now buddies.
Aww.
So I love that theme of making the unlikeliest of friends.
Yeah, and it is one of the few episodes that demonstrates compassion over the heroine being strong and kicking butt, basically. Right. So that is a nice moral to this particular one.
And I like the callback to The Empire Strikes Back.
Oh, was there?
Yeah.
Um,
When the Night Watcher worm gobbles up BB-8 and then spits him out, which is very reminiscent of the Swamp Dragon in The Empire Strikes Back, gobbling up R2 on Dagobah and then spitting R2 out.
Oh, that's right. Good eye. I didn't even catch that.
Wow, I gotta watch that one again.
Yeah, there's a lot of Easter eggs in these and a lot of references and callbacks.
Yeah. Well, when you have when you have Star Wars fans in charge, this is what happens.
Yeah. Yeah, right on. So yeah, I'm hoping to see more of this Night Watcher worm, and we do.
Yes! This brings us to episode 2, which is called BB-8 Bandits. Now, this takes place right after episode 1, Sands of Jakku, where Rey and BB-8 are now heading into Nema Outpost. So Rey sees Tito in the distance, who has probably come back for BB-8, when suddenly she is attacked from behind by a Tito henchman.
Oh, what's gonna happen?
Oh,
Will she survive?
I don't know, but she does show up later in the fourth.
Spoiler. So this one here is very action-packed.
Yes.
Yeah, so I think after that first episode, they wanted to show kids how Rey can really take care of herself.
Tito. He's come back, but I won't let him get you. Hang on.
It's Katarina, what you're telling.
2 down. Turns out you're quite a popular droid. Yes. Exactly like with the Night Watcher worm. Let's go pay him a visit.
So, Johnamarie, what did you think about this episode?
Yeah, this one was great in terms of, like what you said, her being able to survive in this environment with all these henchmen and Titos and whatnot after her the things that she needs to survive, which is basically giving over this scrap metal over to Unkar Plutt. So yeah, she definitely knows how to handle herself in a tough situation. And I just love that there was a moment where she gets off of her speeder bike. I forget what it's called exactly, but she gets off of that. Speeder. Yes, that's right, Rey's speeder. and she tells the Tito to if he wants BB-8 to come and claim him, I believe. I forget the exact words, but it reminded me of that moment in Lord of the Rings with Arwen protecting Frodo, and she's at the river, and yeah, she says something similar to that, and it just reminded me of Lord of the Rings rather than another Star Wars reference.
Yeah, I don't follow you. Sports and Lord of the Rings, I just don't get it.
Well, Dave knows it, so I'm glad I kind of picked up on that one.
Yes. I like the fact that this is extending the first episode, so you could almost watch these right one after another and have like a 6-minute movie. Richard, 6 minutes.
Oh, I can handle 6 minutes. I wouldn't even fall asleep.
No, you wouldn't. And I thought the speeder chase was really neat. Like the racing across the desert, and that looked really cool in the animation style. What about you, Richard?
Yeah.
Did you have?
I'm not sure why we needed this one, other than to establish to the kids, to the little ones who maybe hadn't seen The Force Awakens, that Rey can kick some butt. And the fact that she makes friends very easily, and at the end we see that she feeds the Night Watcher worm Tito's speeder, and she makes it very clear to BB-8 that Tito makes it out alive.
Yes, well, that was made clear in the animation as well.
Yeah, because we see him running away.
Yeah,
but with her dialogue to BB-8, oh yeah, Tito he's gotten away, but he's gonna need another speeder. So they made that very, very clear. So for me, it's hard to really critique these one way.
Right.
Because, like we've been saying, these are for the kids who maybe hadn't seen the films, so we've got to establish these characters.
What I also really loved about these two was that when we get to the movie and she is selling, she's about to give something over to Unkar Plot, and Unkar Plot sees BB-8, and he gives her this giant pile of food rations. You know, she's about to take it, and then she looks at BB-8 and realizes that they just went through this whole thing with the Night Watcher worm. She just went through this whole ride chase with Tito to save him, and she was almost going to give him over for all of this food, but she's already formed a bond with him. So I really like that those two shorts really solidified the bond that eventually made her not give in and take that food.
Right.
Nice.
Yeah, so now when you watch The Force Awakens again, it's like, oh, okay, now we see that she and this droid have been through a lot together.
Well, yeah, when you go through those life-threatening situations.
Right.
That's a bond.
Let's move on to Episode 3, Ewok Escape.
Now, this one picks up right after Leia, who is voiced by Shelby Young, meets Wicket in Return of the Jedi. So, Wicket leads Leia back to the Ewok village, but he hears his Ewok friends in trouble.
Oh, no.
They are being hassled by a couple of stormtroopers when Wicket, he takes matters into his own hands and drops a lasso around them and hoists them up into a tree. But, his plan doesn't go as planned, and Leia has to help him and save her new Ewok friend.
Hey! Blast him!
Nice work.
Oh, this is so adorable.
I know.
Okay, so I guess I'll start on this one because I really loved this one. Not only do we get to see some Ewok antics, which are just like even funnier than in Return of the Jedi, but it directly ties in and answers this question that I've always wondered about, even as a little kid, and that is, where does Leia get that Ewok village dress that she wears in Return of the Jedi? And her hair's all long and flowing, and it's like, oh, where did she get this? And now we know! Leia earned the dress!
Even as a 14-year-old kid in the theater seeing this for the first time, that was one of my questions. Like, I'm looking for the remote control to pause the film going, no, wait a minute. And you know that the Ewoks had given it to her because she didn't pack one herself.
Right.
But at what point did they give it to her? I know it's not really that important, but still I wanted to know.
Honestly, this answers the question, why did they not eat Leia?
Yeah.
Because they're eating all her friend. They find humans, then they're going to eat them.
She's 98 pounds wet.
Well, yeah, so no meat on her bones? Is that what you're talking about?
Yeah, and maybe they're using her as bait to get the others.
I don't think so. See, she saved Wicket and his Ewok friends, so they gave her this dress and said, you're a part of the tribe.
They give her immunity.
Yes, exactly. So there you go. This episode answers so many questions. I love it.
Now, this one here is more of Wicket's story than Leia's. And if they wanted to focus on a female, why not go with Princess Kneesaa from the Ewoks cartoon?
Huh.
That's so true.
Yeah, but then we'd all be saying, okay, then where is she for the rest of Return of the Jedi?
That's right.
Yeah. I'm not sure if you two have realized this, but fans are very discerning.
Oh my, you mean on Twitter they would like blow up about this?
Yes.
What?
And that would be the whole thing. Where is Princess Kneesaa? But
I had no idea.
I also loved the Stormtrooper voices.
Okay.
And while we were watching it, I'm thinking, I know that voice. I just can't put my finger on it, and it was killing me.
Mm-hmm.
So I asked Tracy Canobio, and she said, "Hold, please." Came back like 10 minutes later and said that she had checked in with Lindsay, the casting director, and
nice.
It was in fact David Acord voicing those stormtroopers.
Can you believe it? These things are everywhere. Primitives. I'm surprised the Empire didn't deal with them when we arrived.
Now, where is he from?
He's one of these sound guys at Lucasfilm.
Okay.
At Skywalker Sound. And he does a lot of the incidental voices since he's right there, like Matthew Wood.
Right.
They could go and hire someone to do the battle droids, but Matt Wood is right there.
Mhm.
Why not just use him?
Okay.
So you'll hear David Acort's voice in The Force Awakens. You'll hear him in Rogue One and lots in Rebels.
Oh, yeah. I recognize his name from
Right.
credits. So now, Johnamarie, did you have some comments about this episode?
Yeah, I really like this one as well. The Ewoks are super cute and adorable, and I wanted to hug each one of them. But I also what I really loved was that even though there was a lot of focus on Wicket and what the heroic act he did, it really emphasized the fact that Leia isn't one to run away, and knowing that Han, Luke, and the others need her assistance and need her to be with them. So she isn't one to just abandon this little creature she's just met, this little being, I should say. And so what I loved was that it connected it to a quote that she had mentioned in Rebels, and she said, "I feel like because I can fight, I have to for those who cannot." And so she's really following through with that. And these little two Ewoks that were being bullied by the stormtroopers, she's going through with what she said and helping them and doing what they unfortunately cannot. And that's helping Wicket taking these two troopers out. And I also really loved how she considered them as people, I guess, or beings. She called Wicket smart, and the two stormtroopers were calling the little Ewoks, things or primitive. So they were demeaning, and Leia definitely saw them differently than the stormtroopers.
Right. She saw them as actual beings that needed respect.
Exactly.
I love the fact that Wicket, like in Return of the Jedi, whenever he tries to join in the fight, it always goes wrong.
Oh.
Like when he's whipping around that rock on a rope, and it just hits him right in the face.
Yeah.
And here he is trying to lasso those two stormtroopers and pulling them up into the tree. And it's like, well, Wicket, you're not as heavy as a stormtrooper, so, the pulley system is not going to be in your favor. I just love the fact that he, doesn't matter to him. His friends are in trouble. He's going to jump into action.
Yep.
Exactly.
Aww.
And I do love at the very end, in a lot of these shorts, in the 70s, we had the Super Friends cartoon.
Okay.
And they would always end on this big, let's get everyone together for this big chuckle, this big laugh.
Okay.
That wasn't really all that funny.
Aww.
Like when Leia says about her new dress.
Does it come with a spear?
And Wicket gives her his.
I think it's perfect.
The little kids on the couch
they're gonna
laughing.
love it. They're gonna. Well, will they? Will they?
I don't know.
And if Jen Morrow was going for that Super Friends ending chuckle, then she hit it right on the head. That's the feeling I got. that she's a fan of the Super Friends. So now let's move on to episode 4, The Padawan Path.
Ahsoka, where are you?
I'm on my way, Master.
Now this one takes place somewhere between season 2 and 3 of the Clone Wars.
Right, and Leland said on Twitter that they're being very vague about some of these timelines.
That's so they can change them up later. So this episode, it picks up on Coruscant with a great Easter egg shot of a Ralph McQuarrie concept painting intended for Cloud City.
Love that Easter egg.
Mm-hmm. Now, Ahsoka is racing to meet Master Yoda and Anakin for a ceremony where she will receive a new braid for her Leku. But suddenly she hears screaming. A killer droid reminiscent of Ed from RoboCop 2 has a few loose wires and is going on a rampage, and he's bearing down on a mama and child fishhead family.
Thank you for saving us. Are you all right? The ceremony.
Have faith in her. You must.
I do.
No.
Now, I'm not the only one who thought Ed from RoboCop 2. Come on.
It's been a while since I last saw that movie.
Yeah. I'm not sure if I've ever seen
All right,
this film.
Skywalkers, tweet in at Skywalking Pod. How many of you thought Ed from RoboCop 2 when you saw this droid gone haywire? Come on, back me up here. All right, Johnamarie, what did you think about the Padawan Path?
it was great seeing Ahsoka in action again, especially since we haven't seen her since the end of season 2 in Star Wars Rebels. So it was great traveling back to a point in time where, we can see her interacting with Anakin again and Yoda and being in that environment that we knew and loved for so long in Star Wars: The Clone Wars. So I also really loved the fact that, she's trying to get to a destination and unfortunately she has to get stopped in the way. But fortunately, she helps these two people who need her help. And it was just funny to hear Anakin, saying, hurry up, get here already. And she unfortunately can't because she's doing something at the moment. So it was entertaining, but also very, it brought back a lot of heartwarming feels and emotions seeing that era again.
She's doing something to save these people. And in fact, it's doing these brave acts of heroism that she's getting this laku.
Oh yeah, her braids. Yeah,
right.
Yeah. Her silka beads. Yeah, the little things that hang on her leku because she unfortunately doesn't have hair. So she can't have a regular Padawan braid.
Now, I can see where they're going with this one, putting others' needs before your own, especially when they're in danger. But this one seems a little forced and cliche. Now, we've seen this kind of story before on many, many other series. And it doesn't really, I think kids know this character well enough where they could have done something a little bit more character building.
Well, keep in mind that Clone Wars now has been off the air for how long?
Look, go to Netflix and it's on right now.
Well, I know that. But when something is on the Disney Channel or whatever channel it was on, that's what kids watch, and they generally go about 4 seasons because that's the lifespan of a child kind of growing and getting into
Onto
whatever
the next
show
phase.
that is. Yeah.
Right.
So, like, kids nowadays, they may not know Ahsoka as well. So, I mean, my thought when I saw this was I really would expect no less from Ahsoka. If you hear her screaming and
of course.
crying, you know she'd be on her way to save them.
I mean, look, if you wanted to go this way, which I hope they never do, you could have lifted a theme, a storyline, or an arc from the Clone Wars, and maybe refinessed it for this series here. I hope they never recycle like that, but something else that really defines her character.
Like what she does after she leaves the Academy. That would have been interesting. The Jedi, what she does after she leaves the Jedi Temple.
Oh, like when she reaches the bottom of the Jedi Temple steps?
Yeah. That would be an awesome short to see.
Well, as Ashley Eckstein says, she heads for the nearest cupcake shop.
Yep, I know.
just 3 minutes of Ahsoka eating a cupcake. Now, you know what? I would have preferred that over this.
There's a question later on that I answered.
Okay.
Very similar, but yes.
But there's just so much you could have done, maybe including more Anakin rather than having him going, oh, snips, Ahsoka, where are you?
We might actually get that in a future short because there were in the trailer, there was a instant where Ahsoka and Anakin are like crossing lightsabers, like they're fighting, but they might be just training. I'm not sure. So yeah, it might be that we might get another short with Ahsoka and Anakin from that era.
Oh, that's cool. Yeah, it is. It is unusual to see Anakin just standing around.
Yeah.
Doing nothing. Yeah.
And since we see Ahsoka later on, maybe if we had seen her in this short as we saw her in the Clone Wars movie or in season 1 or 2, where she's a little bit younger and can relate to that younger audience, or go back to her childhood. Maybe seeing like a child Ahsoka. Now, why didn't they do that? Why didn't they make these characters younger to appeal to this younger audience?
That is a good point.
Well,
maybe it's the doll.
Yeah, the dolls. And in terms of their journey growing up, as younger, that maybe they haven't had that call of the hero yet. So you want to get them when they're on their hero's path, but we'd be establishing
who they are. But right now we're kind of retreading the same information we've already had. And I know we've been saying throughout this whole segment that it's really introducing these characters to the younger viewers, but we can do that at the same time giving us new information like when they were kids and what got them to the point that we see them now.
That is interesting. Although in this short, you know, she does receive, what is that braid called, Jonna?
I think it's just a Padawan braid, but hers is made out of silica beads.
Okay.
And so it's a bit different than the actual hair braid.
Okay. So she's receiving like a silica bead, which, you know, translates to kids as, oh, maybe the next grade up, you know, as they progress through school. So that's a way that kids can relate. But it's an interesting point you make, Richard.
I'm just saying. I'm just saying.
Throwing it out there.
Okay. So this wasn't one of my favorite shorts, but I do love that Jedi tree.
Yes. I was like,
what is up with this?
I think this is my favorite animated short, like in terms of the animation and the style and the beautiful, just the pictures we get throughout the episode.
Yeah. And I'm very happy that Matt Lanter came back for Anakin. Tom Kane came back for Yoda.
Yeah.
I'm loving Yoda. Anakin, I'm not going to go into the fact that he's missing a scar. And I'm sure I'm not the only one who noticed that. I'm not going to go on with that. But let's get back to this tree.
Yes.
I want more information. Or hold on, where's my phone? We're going to call out to Leland. What's up with this tree?
Do we see it in the Clone Wars?
Yes, we do see it, I believe, in the Yoda arc, the last in season 6.
Yeah, because I'm remembering something at the Jedi Temple with like that a tree.
All right, that's a season we've got to revisit right after this.
Yeah.
Okay. All right. Good deal.
Okay.
And this, go ahead.
No, do you have anything more to say?
Yeah, I was
about
gonna
this
say.
episode?
I was gonna say this is the first episode that there is intercutting. So we go back and forth from Ahsoka to Anakin.
Oh, it's not just one scene.
It's not just one point of view, but now there's two.
Okay.
Let's cut to the end.
Okay.
When she finally makes it to the ceremony.
Sorry, I'm late.
Ahsoka, what happened?
Let's just say there were some complications.
It seems very vague.
Well, I guess she doesn't want to brag. Like, oh, I was just saving 2 people, you know, the usual. And that's completely out of character. She is the one to do what she needs to do and not get a reward in return.
By her not saying, oh, I just saved some people, she's displaying how humble she is. And she took on this big droid, so she's brave. So humble and brave, Yoda even says it. That is what they're showing that Ahsoka is.
Right. We've talked it through. Sometimes you'll go into these with a preconceived answer. Okay, I have my answer, but as we're talking it through, it's like, oh, wait a minute, things start to change, which is good, which is very good.
No, I love talking about it.
Yeah, exactly.
It's good.
All right, now let's move on to episode 5, Beasts of Echo Base.
Leia and R2 are looking for Chewie within the depths of Echo Base as seen in The Empire Strikes Back. Now, Leia thought he was digging corridors when she hears the wailing Wookiee.
Chewie? Is that you?
So she and R2 go deep into an ice cave, but she sees Chewie being held like a doll by a wampa. Oh my gosh.
Oh, this cannot end well.
And so she, being the leader, takes matter and says, hey.
Can't let it get into the base. Chewie, R2, go back and seal that passageway. I'll distract him.
So, will she save Chewie?
No
way to find out.
Except to watch this episode.
Or The Empire Strikes Back.
Yes.
All right. So, Johnamarie, what did you think of Beasts of Echo Base?
That was fun because I remember when I first got the movies, I'm not really, in just movies in general, I'm not one to really look through the special features. I know a lot of people do that, but sometimes I'm just like, I just want to watch the movie. But I remember seeing the deleted scenes for The Empire Strikes Back on YouTube and seeing that one scene where they rip off, or where C-3PO rips off the sign off the door, and the trooper goes into to investigate and see if they're hiding in there, and the Wampa ends up taking the trooper inside. So I remember
that's
that.
Right.
Yeah, I remember that deleted scene. And I'm just like, oh my gosh, well, this is a deleted scene that connects to that deleted scene. So, so I really loved how they kind of explained why that sign ends up on that door.
Yeah, because those wampas were invading the Echo base like rats in an open house.
Well, yeah, there's lots of warm bodies to eat.
Yeah. Yeah. Well, exactly. It's like dinner time at Sizzler. Now, I loved seeing. I love me some wampas, and I did also make the connection between all those deleted wampa scenes, and they were deleted because the wampas they just couldn't get the look right. Now, I wasn't crazy about this episode just because we see Leia doing things that are so outside of her character, such as sliding around and doing shoulder rolls to escape the wampa, that it was very distracting. Yeah. I know it's animated. You got to have some
exaggerations.
Yeah, so I understand that, but I just wish they kept it more in line with Leia.
Okay.
You know, I know her diplomatic way would want to reason with the wampa. That's not going to happen. But just her sliding around like an acrobat, it took me out of it.
I can see how that takes you out of it, but I can also see it as just this is an opportunity to show what she's capable of doing, and she is force sensitive. It's just that she doesn't use it or isn't as focused as much when it comes to her and versus Luke. So I like to think that it does come through her actions, even though she's not really thinking it through or using it purposefully.
Oh, I think Leia could have beaten this wampa, and just the fact that she's so small, she could get in and out of these little crevices like Luke did with the Rancor.
Gotcha.
But you're right, Richard. To me, this is not one of my favorites either. At the very beginning, Leia's voice to me was very jarring. I was like, oh, I didn't like how it sounded at first.
All right, let's get into this.
Okay.
Because I loved Shelby Young's performance.
Wow.
I thought she nailed the Leia voice quality.
R2, I've talked to everybody in the base, and nobody's seen Chewie. I thought he was down here digging corridors, or at least he was supposed to be.
Okay.
I thought she was even better than Julie Dolan, who portrayed Leia in Rebels.
Not much of a welcoming committee. Trooper.
I'm Kanan. This is Ezra. We're from Phoenix Squadron.
I know who you are. And unless you want the deck officer to know too, I suggest you put your helmets back on and keep your mouths shut.
Yeah, I remember Julie Dolan, and I remember people not really liking how older she sounded compared to the character model. But I thought she did a great Leia in that episode, and I really think Shelby Young does a fantastic Leia as well. She gets sort of some of those things that Leia is known to say, and the tone of her voice really well. So I think it came across well, and it didn't really stand out to me as certain things didn't stand out to me as like, oh, maybe that that doesn't sound like Leia.
Okay.
Yeah.
Well, I'm glad you guys think so.
Yeah, and I'm talking about the voice cast. I'm thrilled beyond belief that Daisy Ridley is back, and Kat Tabor is back as Padme, Ashley Eckstein
as Ahsoka. And then Jyn Erso, we had Felicity Jones
as Jyn Erso. So I'm thrilled with that. And in this episode, we get Anthony Daniels as C-3PO.
What is that?
Hello, Princess Leia. Are you there? Master Luke is wonderful.
But you know what my favorite thing in this episode? Leia and the Wookiee hug.
Oh.
Oh, yes.
You're welcome, Chewie.
Always the best. Wookiee hugs are the best.
Now, did we see any other Empire Strikes Back callbacks in this episode?
I'm sure you did, Richard.
Other than the Echo Base and the Wampa? Johnamarie?
No, I didn't pick up on anything.
When something mechanical is not working, what do? They hit it.
Oh, okay, they hit it. Okay.
Like when Han Solo hits the Millennium Falcon.
I love it.
So that was another, check in my box.
That's awesome.
All right, now how about we move on to episode 6, The Imposter Inside.
Is she on the guest list? No.
All right. Ahsoka has just done her security rounds as Padme is setting up a banquet for the Arthurian delegates for a negotiation. Now, Ahsoka becomes suspicious of a handmaiden that is setting the table. She has set utensils when the Arthurian delegates would find this offensive. Padme calls out to the handmaiden, who spins around and starts firing her hidden blaster. Ahsoka disarms her, and we see that the handmaiden is a shape-shifting Claudite, who we see in Attack of the Clones.
Yeah, Zem Wessel.
Yeah, and so this Claudite is named Cato Parasiti. Now, the Claudite goes to press a red button, Richard.
I love this Claudite. Go Cato.
Now, that can only mean one thing. There's a bomb. It's under the table where Padme is hiding, and she sends it over to Ahsoka, who sends it flying out the window with the help of her lightsabers, and it explodes.
Just in the nick of time.
Yeah, outside the window.
Yeah.
Yes.
Yeah.
Oof. Oh,
This is harrowing.
this is. Oh my gosh.
Ahsoka, there's a bomb! Send it to me!
This was a great episode for Ahsoka, definitely, because she picked out that there was something wrong with the placement of this dinner that was going to happen, and that basically rang the bell for Padme. And so, yeah, I really loved that. It was Ahsoka. You know, it's always important to pay attention to your surroundings, and when you see something that isn't really sitting well with you, you want to question it and ask, like I said, ask questions about it, because it's always important to voice your concerns. And that's what I came away with from this episode.
Nice. That's cool. Actually, what's funny is they were using the fork, and I could see if Ariel had come in the room, how she'd be like, oh, that's a pretty one. A pretty, oh my gosh, Dinglehopper.
A Dinglehopper. That's right.
Oh
my gosh. Yeah. I love that. I love Ariel.
Yes. Let's see. For me, this actually seemed like the most overtly female episode. Like, everyone was female. So, you know, Padme and Ahsoka, even the baddie.
Cato Parasiti.
Yes, even Cato. So
I love saying that name.
Okay. You can keep saying it.
I reached out to Leland and confirmed that.
Yeah, so that just seemed to me like, oh my gosh, you know, everyone's female. So that was interesting in this episode. And this also had my favorite resolution of all the episodes.
Hold on. Cue Super Friends music.
Okay. because, you know, Ahsoka says that she'll stay, so all the food doesn't go to waste. So Ahsoka and Padme, you know, after the Claudite has been apprehended. Yeah. Ahsoka says that
it looks like these negotiations will have to be postponed.
In that case, I guess I will stay. I'd hate to see all that food go to waste.
I just totally imagine Padme and Ahsoka sitting there on the floor, like having a slumber party, eating all the leftovers of the food that is all in front of them, and just talking about things, you know, maybe talk about the problems of the galaxy.
Not boys.
And maybe talk about how they feel about the problems of the galaxy. And perhaps if Ahsoka gets Padme drunk enough, she'll talk about Anakin or her secret lover.
Sarah, this is for the toddlers, okay?
Oh, darn it. So we'll never see that in these?
We'll need Forces of Destiny After Dark for that.
Oh. But I loved it because my mind totally went to that
a slumber
place.
party.
Yes.
Okay, that makes sense.
That's where girls go.
All right.
So Richard, what did you think of this episode?
Now, I really like this episode. It's the shortest one, being
Wow.
2 minutes and 18 seconds, but the most action-packed.
Yeah, it is. They totally pack so much into this.
Right. And I'm glad Padme does more than just arranging this dinner party, but she's actually in the fight.
Mm-hmm.
And in the end, when the Claudite is getting away, she picks up this big I Dream of Jeannie bottle and whacks the Claudite. She whacks Cato, and Cato goes down, and we see that, okay, these two together form just a team of girls that can once they start working together, they can really take down the bad forces of the galaxy.
Right. Definitely.
So this one here, always be working together.
Oh, yeah. Yeah, that works. Like teamwork.
Yes. I see online that a lot of people are trying to figure out the timeline here. And Leland once again said this takes place in the Clone Wars seasons 3 and 5, somewhere in between there. And they're leaving these timelines very vague when we get to Ahsoka and Padme, because I'm sure fans will say, oh, wait a minute, Padme is wearing this, but she should be wearing that. Padme's hair is like this, and it should be like that.
Well, she changes her hair once every hour, so,
Yeah.
they can't use that.
And she's wearing that same outfit we see her in Attack of the Clones.
Right.
The one that gets ripped off by the
Well, she
Nexu.
had a new one made.
Well, yeah, but I'm wondering why they replicated this outfit. Like they're trying to associate this with Attack of the Clones, maybe as a gateway into the films.
Yeah, no, I think definitely they're doing an associative thing. Plus, there's probably a doll that they want to put in that outfit.
Yeah, and you know what? Any lead up to Attack of the Clones, I'm all over that.
Cool. Well, I also have to give a shout out here to @Team Ahsoka on Twitter, who posted a screenshot of the end of this episode with Ahsoka holding up the fork and Padme kind of like, her eyes are closed, but she's smiling. And they posted, Ahsoka, hey, Padme, use the fork. And Padme says, internal facepalm. As she's like closing her eyes. It's so funny. So thank you, Team Ahsoka, for that little giggle.
Do you know what Padme's saying? Simpsons did it.
Homer, use the fork.
The force?
The forks. Use the forks.
Oh.
Okay, I love it.
It was in the Mark Hamill episode of The Simpsons.
Oh, okay. Aw.
All right, now let's move to episode 7, The Stranger.
Who threw that?
I suggest you pick on someone your own size.
Okay. Now, patrolling stormtroopers approach a young girl and inform her that she is in violation of Code 310, possession of a loth cat. Oh, suddenly the trooper is hit in the head by a piece of yogan fruit, and he turns to see Jyn Erso. So she leads them on a chase through the back alley. Now, between Jyn and the loth cat, they take out the small garrison of bullying stormtroopers, and the girl and the loth cat are reunited once more.
I think this is yours.
Tuki, you're back! Thank you. What's your name?
My name's Jyn Erso.
Thank you, Jyn Erso.
Love it. I was really looking forward to the Jyn Erso episodes just because we have so little to go on with Jyn.
Right.
Other than the novels and, of course, Rogue One. And I was so excited to know that these Jyn Erso episodes were approaching.
This one really hit home with me, and I will say this one's my favorite because it's something that you can actually translate. The other ones you can also translate and pull out morals and lessons, but this one really hit home with me because everyone experiences some form of bullying, and the two stormtroopers harassing this little girl and taking what's hers really struck a chord with me. And a lot of people tend to just stand by and let it happen. And Jyn wasn't that person. So I really liked that she stepped in and did something. And I admire that about that character. And it just reminded me about Rogue One and so sad about what happens towards the end. And I just really... I cried after I watched it, really. And yeah, it's definitely one that I watched more than a few times, whereas the other ones I watched once or twice. But yeah, this one I watched it a handful of times, and it's my favorite for sure.
Yeah, I hear you about being more emotionally invested in this one than most of the others, just simply because, majority of people have pets. So that's another way you can kind of relate to just the little girl who has her Lothcat. It's the only thing she has in this world. They make that very clear. And the stormtroopers are about to take it away from her, and she's starting to cry. Like, and you know, anyone who's had pets or has pets now, like, can relate to that. Like, oh, how would you feel if someone was like, no, you can't have your dog anymore, and they were going to take it away to the pound or something? So definitely more emotionally invested. And I love that you brought up the whole bullying thing, and that really makes a lot of sense. And that Jyn would step in. That's really great.
Yeah, because what violation is this? What is this violation code 310? That's a Los Angeles area code.
I did not know that.
They're just making that up. Because you know why? They want that Lothcat. You bullying stormtroopers. How dare you?
Yeah, what's that about? Taking Tukas and Lothcats and all the space cats.
Yeah.
Yeah. Go get your own Lothcat. There's a million out there. Go to the shelter. Come on.
Can we talk about the Lothcat sounds? Because, oh my gosh, they're so cute.
All the meowing sounds.
Yeah. Johnamarie, I was glad we had you on to talk about this because, I mean, you make the Lothcat Tuka dolls, right?
Oh, that's right. Well, the Lothcats, I actually haven't experimented with those colors because they come in brown and light brown and tan colors. But the Tukas I have done, and because those are purple. And but I have done the Tuka dolls, and we've seen Tuka dolls in Star Wars: The Clone Wars, and I think we saw a Tuka doll maybe in Star Wars Rebels, but it was a blue one rather than a purple one. And so yeah, I love making Tuka dolls, and they're a lot of fun to make. And I'm hoping to make a tutorial video soon, but I always keep getting distracted by things like these shorts.
Yeah. Thanks, Lucasfilm. Thanks.
Now, I'm sure with this short, they're paralleling Rogue One, like when Jyn had saved that little crying girl in the middle of the street during that big battle in Jeddah.
Right.
So now here she is helping out this young girl who is not in the middle of a crossfire, but she's still in the line of sights of the stormtroopers.
Right.
So I know that they know that these little kids hopefully had not seen Rogue One because it's PG-13. So they're going to say, okay, we're going to replicate that same information we know about Jyn into this. So these little girls know who Jyn is and that she will come to the aid of anyone who needs help, even if that means putting herself in severe danger. Because here she is, like with Rogue One, she jumped right in the line of fire between the stormtroopers and Saw Gerrera's soldiers.
Right.
So now here she is putting herself in harm's way in front of these stormtroopers. And ever get hit in the head with a Yogan fruit? That doesn't tickle. So she knows that she's in it all the way.
Have you been hit in the head with a Yogan fruit?
Yes, many times. Many times. And I'm sure kids will want to see more of Jyn. So they're going to maybe want to watch Rogue One. Maybe they should put out like a PG version of Rogue One so the little ones can see it.
You know what the parents are going to say? Here's the Jyn doll. Now you'll see more of Jyn.
or Rebel Rising, which is a novel I keep seeing people talk about, but I actually haven't read it yet. So I want to read it more now because of this short.
Yeah. All right, now on to our last episode in the Forces of Destiny series, Wave 1, Bounty of Trouble.
Senator Organa, I'm Sabine Wren. I was sent here to capture you.
All right. Leia is still part of the Imperial Senate, and she is being escorted by stormtroopers when a paint bomb is thrown in their path. But before it can go off, Sabine Wren lassos and pulls the princess to safety. She leads Sabine to the stolen data tapes that contain the whereabouts of Imperial base locations. The situation becomes worse when they are pursued by the war droid bounty hunter IG-88.
Here, the data tape of Imperial base locations. Use it well. What is that?
IG-88. An actual bounty hunter. Also, probably interested in your data tape. Follow me!
Finally getting some love in there for some IG-88.
That was so cool.
This one was a lot of fun in terms of it reminding me of a Star Wars Rebels episode. I thought, right after that, she'd meet up with Ezra and Kanan, and the episode would continue. But sadly, it just ended there. And you're like, no, I want more. But what was really cool was that at the very end, you have Sabine saying that she'll fight on the outside and Leia will continue fighting on the inside, and Leia hopes that she'll be able to fight by Sabine's side again. And so what's really cool is that I noticed that this episode actually comes before A Princess on Lothal, which was in season 2 of Star Wars Rebels. So that's pretty neat, the fact that they do get to fight again, and it's alongside each other when they gotta take those the Hammerhead Corvettes. So that's pretty awesome.
Yeah, that's neat how, if you think of a kid just getting into this, they're seeing these and going like, oh, that would be cool to see this, pink and purple-haired girl. And then, eventually see Star Wars Rebels in that order.
Mm-hmm.
And I love Leia's use of the word hope. I hope one day we can fight together.
Aww.
Always got to get that word in there.
Yeah.
Got to make sure the kids know what A New Hope is.
Absolutely.
Yeah, I love seeing the crossover characters from the films and TV shows. That really excites me.
Okay.
Here we have the film characters with Princess Leia, of course, and IG-88 all crossing over with Sabine. And that just really, really excited me. And in the beginning, it's Sabine who does throw the paint bomb and lassos Princess Leia in a very funny shot.
Mm-hmm.
It's like, wait a minute, is this Sabine or Wonder Woman all of a sudden? then at that point, Leia seems to trust Sabine very quickly. At first, I thought maybe they were in on this together, but Sabine introduces herself, which tells me this is the first time they're meeting.
Well, what I think it is maybe Leia knew that someone would be helping, but she didn't know who it would be. Like an unnamed person from the rebellion will be here to meet you at this time. So that's what I'm thinking.
Okay, if that's the case, maybe throw in a line. Hey, I'm your contact. I'm Sabine Wren. I know that. You gotta.
That's a little nitpicky.
We only have 2.5 minutes to get through this, so
yes.
Once again, I understand. Just one little line would have made me go, okay, now I'm really into it. Because when I first watched this, I thought, oh, wait a minute, Princess, she could be anybody. She's wearing Mandalore armor. She could be anyone.
Okay.
And
that's true.
Yeah, I love the way the two of them work together, fighting off bounty hunters.
Mm-hmm.
When have we ever seen that before?
Yeah.
So, Sarah, what did you think about this episode?
Well, okay, so honestly, the design of Sabine for this Forces of Destiny, I think I like it more than even Star Wars Rebels.
Ooh.
I think she looks beautiful.
Interesting.
Yeah, I like how her hair is just a slightly bit longer. So and her eyes are really pretty. And I mean, her eyes are really pretty in Star Wars Rebels too, but I just think the colors for some reason pop more for me. So I really love her design there. And of course,
very cool.
Yeah. Of course, the message of the teamwork message and the hope message, I hope gets across.
Oh, I'm sure that's the one reason for this is because we want to let these kids know that there's always hope coming, no matter what happens, no matter how much you're being beaten down, always have hope.
Yeah.
And I'm so glad we're talking about this one because I had a tough time trying to extract messages out of it, like a moral lesson. So yeah, hope I didn't really grab that at the end, and teamwork. So that's pretty cool. I didn't really put those together in terms of messages.
Yeah.
Now, funny thing is, I was just working with some kids today who had seen this short, but one little girl was very confused because she thought this was a female Boba Fett.
Oh.
So I just think maybe she has someone in her life that said, maybe it's Boba Fett, but a girl.
Mm-hmm. I have one more note on this episode, and that is the color palette. Now, I know a lot of little girls love Sabine because she has that pink and purple or blue hair. It's very brightly colored. It's technically girls' colors, in quotes. And so if you look at the color palette of this episode in particular, you got Lothal's backgrounds are mostly purple, or a light blue and a purple. Wow, look at that. Almost pink sometimes. And then you have Sabine there, who's got her beautiful pink and purple armor with the orange, pop of orange in her hair. So I think just on an artistic level, little girls would be drawn in to this simply because of the color palette.
Oh, yeah. Yeah, I really love those deep purples and just the Sabine's paint. Covered IGN.
Yeah, that
IG-88.
too. Definitely.
And the troopers.
Yeah, IG-88 is all, pink?
Yeah.
That's pretty awesome.
If they make an action figure with him covered in pink paint,
oh yeah,
here's my money. Here's my money right now.
Yay.
Oh, I better go back now.
Leia, you keep fighting on the inside. I'll keep fighting on the outside.
I hope one day we can fight together.
All right, so now that we've gone through these episodes, let's go around the room and kind of a round table and just ask the question, in the end, did these Forces of Destiny shorts meet your expectations? So, Johnamarie.
Yeah, I found them fun and enjoyable, entertaining, and I definitely grabbed some lessons from them that we should all apply on our daily lives. So I definitely enjoyed them. They met my expectations, and I'm quite happy with what I've seen. And I am definitely looking forward to the next 8 episodes in October.
One of these shorts coming in October is going to feature Rey and Finn called Tracker Trouble. And that's going to be really, really exciting.
Ooh.
With me, I thought they were going to do what they did with Clone Wars and start introducing new characters, like they did with General Grievous in the micro series of the Clone Wars.
So introduce characters that you'll see in
Revenge of the Sith and upcoming Star Wars films, and even the Star Wars Holiday Special, introducing Boba Fett in that animated short, which was designed just to start introducing characters in upcoming films. So I thought, oh, okay, we're going to see Rose in one of these shorts. Because she's right around the corner in The Last Jedi. So this series is going to do what the others had done and start telling us new stuff about new characters.
Okay.
Yeah, we didn't get that.
We didn't get that here, but I'm wondering.
Yeah, in the
October.
next wave in October, I think we're going to start seeing characters from The Last Jedi.
That would be really neat.
Yeah.
That would be, yeah.
I think it's a missed opportunity if they don't, because they made such a big deal about Rose at Star Wars Celebration Orlando. And she's a new female character, and this is designed around showcasing the female characters.
That would be really neat.
Come on, they've got to do it. And I'm sure they're going to do it.
I like that plan.
Now, this was announced right before Celebration Orlando. So, Sarah, when you first heard about the series, what did you think?
I was excited to hear that the Rey or
heroines,
the heroines would be in shorts together.
Oh yeah,
so that especially excited me. Not just that we were seeing these characters, but that they would be seen together and interacting with each other. Because I mean, girls, we love relationships, so I think to see that in any form is fun.
All right, and we did get a little bit of that in some of these shorts, so this did meet your expectations.
Yeah, and I think the art style kind of went beyond the expectations.
Oh yeah,
in my opinion.
I can't say this enough, but I love this art style.
Yeah,
I really do. Now, what would you like to have seen in this wave that we did not get in terms of character or situations?
I want to see Ahsoka eating cupcakes.
Oh, don't we all?
Let's see. Well, I definitely, in terms of the adventure figures, I would love to see a Hera doll. I know we're going to get Hera in these shorts. And Ketsu Onyo from Star Wars Rebels is supposed to show up on one of these shorts as well. That might be turning up in October. But I would love to get a doll of her as well. So yeah, these are characters that we've seen hints of, but I definitely want to keep as a form of a doll on my shelf, and so that I can come up with some stories as I play along with them too.
Exactly. Yeah. No, I really think these dolls are. I mean, that's how kids play, And
Yeah.
I mean, I made so many stories up in my dollhouse. You know, I had all these Playmobil figures and I had like generations of stories going on in my head. So I can see how kids would really do that with these figures. Let's see, Richard, what would you like to see?
Got one word for this question. Phasma.
Why?
Why did we not get Phasma?
Because she doesn't have good relationships.
But
yeah.
Now, I know in Force Awakens, Han jokes around about a trash compactor, but that's more of a throwaway line. I do not want to see Phasma in a trash compactor.
Well, we already have a comic for that.
Yes, I know that. And come on. So I was really hoping that let's just not deal with the heroines, but Phasma too. Let's see what got her into the position that she is now. So I really wanted to see more storytelling that added to their character and how they became to be, or things that might fill in some gaps.
Okay.
We didn't really get that, but I know we've talked about it before, but that's not really what this was intended for. It was more intended to reintroduce or introduce these heroines to the little kids.
Okay.
So, and you know, like I've been saying, I get it, but I think there could have been a way to give us older fans some new character development. And Phasma, why did we not get Phasma? Maybe show her after The Force Awakens. I know you said, Sarah, there was a comic book, which I didn't read. Let's go before The Force Awakens to what got her to this position here. Or maybe her training Finn and the other stormtroopers. Something along those lines.
Yeah, the thing about that is that their goal is to show an everyday heroic act. And Phasma, we still don't know much of her backstory to determine whether she's been good before.
Exactly.
So yeah, maybe we could have seen, yeah, for sure. But yeah, I think a lot of people on Twitter have also said, you know, I want to see Ventress. I want to see all these other characters like Aura Singh and whatnot. I'm like, well, Aura Singh, I don't really see her doing a heroic act, really. But yeah, so you got to keep in mind that their focus is on the heroines. And yeah, I don't know where Phasma is on that scale.
Maybe Phasma was good at one time, but she made a bad decision, which led her down this road of the Empire. And that could be a great lesson for kids. Yeah, you make a bad decision, it might lead you down the road to the dark side.
To the Empire.
You know, it could happen to any of us. All right, so now let me ask, what do we want to see or hope to see in this next wave of episodes in October?
I think Rey decorating something for some holiday or something or other, like decorating her little home, her abode. I don't know, just something relatable, you know, like for
okay, I can
for
see
the
where
kids.
you're going.
I mean, I know these aren't the best examples, but just something like that, and also like Leia building a snow droid with R2.
Okay, so you want to see holiday-themed episodes.
Yeah, pretty much.
All right, well, they're coming back in October. We know that Ewoks celebrate Halloween. So let's get on this.
Okay.
All right, excited. All right, I want to see Halloween in the next wave. All right, Johnamarie, what do you want to see in this next wave?
I would like to see definitely Rose. Now that you've got that in my head, I can't get it out of my head. I would love to see more interactions between maybe Hera and Sabine, because we're going to see Sabine and Leia interacting, but I'd love to see more of Hera and Sabine interacting post Star Wars Rebels, because it looks like they're in a post Star Wars Rebels setting to begin with. So yeah, I'd love to see more of that. And gosh, I'm not sure exactly what else, but whatever it is that they have planned, I'm sure I will be as enthusiastic as I was with these 8 episodes.
Or to build off of what you just said, Johnamarie, what if we saw Hera and Jyn? Since we know that Hera was at Macias Base when Jyn was there.
Whoa.
Oh my goodness.
You're blowing my mind with these, Richard.
Yeah. Are we going to get Hera and Leia, right? I think that was promised.
We are going to get a Hera and Leia. Yes. That was one too.
I wonder if there's going to be any crossovers between Rebels that should be airing in September, October with this next wave of episodes.
Ooh, that sounds awesome.
Oh, this is exciting.
Yeah.
Okay, there's so much to look forward to.
And we're missing the most obvious one. Why are we not getting an Aunt Beru story?
Oh, yeah.
Come on here. Let's not just deal with the heroes, but you know what? She had to take care of Luke. She had to bring him up, make sure he was on the right path. She had to be the deflector against Uncle Owen, who was always so grumpy.
It would be fun to see an Aunt Beru and Little Luke episode where she's teaching him a lesson.
Yeah.
Oh, yeah. Yeah.
Where he gets some of his goodness from.
All right, we're going to send in some of these spec scripts.
Right? All right.
All right. Well,
that was exciting.
Yes, it was. I think we all learned a lot from these.
I think so, yeah. Talked through our thoughts.
Yeah.
All right, Johnamarie, well, where can our Skywalkers find you on social media?
Yeah, so they can find me at Blue Jag Eyes on Twitter, and that's the color blue, JAIG, and then the word eyes. And you can find me using that username on Twitter and Instagram, and you can also find all of my other social media channels on thewookieegunner.com, and that's Wookiee with 2 E's.
The right way.
Monkeys has 2 E's. Wookiee has 2 E's. I don't see how anyone can mess these up.
Aww.
I had a blast, and thank you again for the invitation. It's always fun to talk Star Wars with Star Wars friends.
All right.
Well, thank you once again for joining us. You had a lot of great insight, and we can't wait to have you back on the show. Just next time, just be a little bit more bubbly.
Oh, yeah. I'll do that.
Shout-outs. Skywalker shout-outs. Which Skywalkers get props from here in Neverland? Who was tweeted out? Shout-out. Who was photobombed? Shout-out. Who was shared a post? Shout-out.
All right, shout-outs. Every week, we want to give a big shout-out to Skywalkers on Twitter or Facebook or in our Facebook group, so here we go. Now, on Twitter, we had at Darth Tuba tweet, "Baby steps towards a Disney marathon is the Port Orleans Beignet Fun Run. We dressed appropriately." And he posted a picture of Darth Tuba and Mrs. Tuba wearing their Family of Skywalkers shirt, and also some beignets. I thought this was so cute, and I didn't know there was a Port Orleans Beignet Fun Run. This has never been announced.
All right, now I want a beignet.
I know.
I'm not even really sure what a beignet is, but now I want one.
Oh, you know what they are. We've had them.
Oh, no, we've had them, but
Yes.
I'm picturing some kind of a crusty croissant.
Okay.
Am I close?
I don't know, but they're really good.
So you don't know either. I know we've had them.
Oh, they're not crusty croissant.
Oh,
no, they're like
we've had-
donuts.
We've had pumpkin beignets.
Yes.
Is that
Yeah.
right? Okay, it's coming back to me.
Yeah.
All right, now I want a pumpkin beignet.
Very close, like 2 months.
Yes.
2 months. And I also want to give a shout out to Bob Roth, who is at Automatic Gravy on Twitter. And of course, he is one of the creators of Lego Star Wars The Freemaker Adventures. And he shared episode 175 on his Twitter feed. And as he shared it, he wrote, "Here are sick and cruel plans for Who Jibs. Hashtag delivering. Hashtag just not like you wanted." Oh. Why can't I spin our episodes that way? That was awesome. So I thought
No,
that
that's
was really
not awesome.
fun. No?
No. Do you recall what he said about including the Hoojibs?
What now?
There was a Hoojib pelt salesman?
Yeah.
So
I know.
it was cut out.
It was
Thank
cut out.
goodness. So
I know.
do we need to do hashtag make live Hoojibs canon? Do we need to resort to that? Come on, Bob. Don't make us do that.
No.
No. Come on, there's kids watching, Bob. There's kids watching. Do it for the kids. That always works.
We also want to give a big thank you to all of you Skywalkers on Twitter who shared that Freemaker Adventures episode and tweeted at Bob Roth and Bill Motz. Like that's super helpful and just, lets them know that people are listening. So we want to thank you so much for that, Skywalkers.
And there's a part 2 coming to that Freemakers special because we talked to Michael Kramer, the composer of Lego Star Wars The Freemaker Adventures.
So stay tuned to Skywalking Through Neverland.
Yeah, that'll come out closer to the air date of July 31st of the 2nd season.
Yes.
Yeah, lots of fun. Those Freemaker guys are just so much fun to talk to.
Mm-hmm.
They're so uplifting.
It was a really awesome discussion. So now I want to share a little of our Facebook group. And I just want to say that this is just a great place for everyone to meet and make plans, because plans are being made for D23 Expo in our group. So Joey Pittman, Margaret Mays, Anthony Fox, Donald Wicks, and several other Skywalkers, they're all sharing helpful hints about the Expo. They're finding line buddies and answering other Skywalkers' questions about the Expo. So we just want to thank you guys for being so helpful. We love that.
Boy, I cannot wait for this weekend. All right, now with that, let's roll into the Skywalker of the Week.
Mark Telfer.
Congratulations to Mark Telfer. Remember, he was the one that created that Neverland on Alderaan graphic for us.
Oh, yeah.
Very, very well done. So he needs to be Skywalker of the Week for that.
Yay.
So if you want to create a graphic, come up with a name for our fandom highlights segment, open to suggestions, or just reach out on Twitter or Facebook and comment about the show, say something fun.
Share the show with others.
And that will put you on the list to become the Skywalker of the Week, as composed each and every week by Rob Dellinger,
the John Williams of podcasting. Well, that wraps up episode 176 of
Skywalking Through Neverland.
We'd like to thank Johnamarie Macias from thewookieegunner.com, and of course, all of you Skywalkers who listen every week. We love that. And if you're just joining us, well, welcome. We love that too. Also, if you're listening to this on our YouTube channel, please make sure to give this video a like, and then also hit that subscribe button so you'll be notified when we go live, and you can comment and we'll comment back, and then, your name will be on the show, all that fun stuff.
And to add on to that, this week at D23, we'll be posting a lot.
Oh, yes.
We'll be posting so much videos, so much content, so many tweets, so many Facebook posts. Oh, come skywalking through D23 with us.
Yes. All right. Well, Skywalkers, we are part of RetroZap.com, where you can find articles and awesome shows like Brews and Blasters,
the Sandcrawler Podcast,
Beltway Banthas,
the Deucecast Movie Show,
Starship Sabers and Scoundrels,
Techno Retro Dads, and Talking Apes TV. Which the next one should be coming out next week in conjunction with War for the Planet of the Apes.
Oh, exciting.
Which was an awesome film. I predict it'll be my second favorite film of the year after The Last Jedi.
Okay. Wow.
That's a lot of good movies this year, too.
There is.
Now, you can also find us over there at JediNews.co.uk. We're all over the place.
Yeah, and actually for the D23 Expo, we will be sharing with Jedi News some of our content, so that's going to be super exciting. So stay tuned to Jedi News and Skywalking Pod.
Yeah, so thanks over there to Mark Newbold and James Burns. Lots of good stuff coming your ways, fellas.
All right, if you want to contact us on social media, we are at Skywalking Pod for Twitter and Instagram. You can join our Facebook group, or you can email us, share@skywalkingthroughneverland.com.
All right, everyone, now stay tuned for bits of conversation that didn't make it into the show right after we roll the credits. And always remember...
Neverland on Alderaan.
Some imagination, huh?
To our Skywalkers and Tweetwalkers, thanks for listening. Skywalking Through Neverland is created and produced by Richard and Sarah Woloski. Original music by Rob Dellinger. Creative consultant Mark Augushowitz. Technical advisor Peter Heitman. Facebook administrators Donald Wicks, Joey Pittman, and Norma Heitman.
Skywalking Through Neverland is intended for entertainment and information purposes only. Any sounds, music, and clips played during this podcast are the property of their copyright holders. All original content is property of Skywalking Through Neverland, all rights reserved. Sorry, had to be said. But first, hey, we want to thank everyone for sending in their clip and making time. What's ringing and buzzing and...
Probably this, because I have to turn it.
All right. But first, we want to thank everyone for sending in a clip or... Who's smoking?
No.
Okay. All right. Once again. Now, this is where we play a foreign dub.
Say it once again. Excuse me. There you go.
What is with the air in here?
I know.
All right. Then here we go. One more time. With a few more months until we get the next and last of Star Wars Rebels.
Season.
Oh, yeah, I missed a word. All right, one more time.
I'm not sure what to say to that. Who's been hitting you in the head?
You know, you walk down the street on LaFell. Yeah, that's just what happens, okay?
Wow.
And it's not from taking loth cats. It's just by, I don't know. Maybe it's hassling a Nugnaught. Who knows?
I think it was in your dreams.
Not that maybe it was.
Yes.
Maybe, okay, you know what? Disregard that last part.
Okay.
So, all right. Now, we know that there's a line of Forces of Destiny toys coming out. Does this first wave feel like a 2 to 3 minute commercial for these toys? Now, it's like one of those questions that has to be asked.
Okay.
Now, for me, it does. They do feel like 2 to 3 minute commercials for these toys, but so what? Mm-hmm. Every film or TV show from the 1950s beyond, if it's aimed for kids, they were intending to sell toys. That's the way business works.
Oh, yeah.
So I don't care as long as the Lothcat wasn't named Hasbro, or we get a Lieutenant Kenner coming up. As long as we stay away from that kind of thing, those direct call-outs, then I'm fine. I'm fine with that. And I know we saw the toys at Celebration Europe, Celebration Orlando, which looked fantastic. I can't wait to get me that hair blown drying Chewbacca.
Oh, yeah.
That's going to be awesome. So I say it does feel like commercials, but you know what? Bring it on.
Well, Jonna, do they feel like commercials to you?
I was thinking about this question. I would like to think that they are commercials just because it is selling a product, and the more products we sell, the more content we get. But when I think about commercials, I don't really call the movies or the shows like Star Wars: The Clone Wars or Star Wars Rebels commercials. And to me, these expand the story in small ways. So I would consider that the dolls are more of an incentive to watch the shorts and be more involved with Star Wars rather than the shorts being there to sell a product. But that's just me looking at the optimistic side of it.
Well, I think it all goes I think it all goes hand in hand. What's wrong with making a few extra bucks from selling toys you see on these shorts or upcoming series when it gets to that point?
Yeah.
You know what? If it creates new Star Wars, creates new storytelling, then you know what? Yeah, go for it.
Yeah, I'm not sure if I see these as really commercials per se. I mean, kids' toy commercials, I remember, you showed the toys being played with, the actual toys themselves. Mm-hmm. So you would I want that, and you'd ask your parents for Christmas. So this, to me, it does feel like the storytelling. I'll go back to my point where I think the dolls will be a great way that the shorts will kind of jumpstart a storytelling thing in kids. It'll jumpstart that. I'm not thinking of the right words, but it'll jumpstart kids' imaginations.
It will invoke creativity.
Yeah, creativity and imagination in kids, and I think that's great. It's a great springboard for kids' imaginations. So,
yeah, that's another point of view.
Yeah,
but yeah,
yes. So that's what I think these are, and I can't wait to get my hands on these dolls. I mean, as a kid, I know I would love them.
Oh yeah.
And actually, Richard, as a little boy, would you have wanted these figures?
If it said Star Wars on it, yes.
Okay.
Yeah, I bought Princess Leia dolls when I was even younger than that. I had a Wonder Woman and Supergirl and Batgirl doll.
But were they like the Barbie kind of things?
No,
or
they were like the Mego figures like I have over here on my shelf. I didn't see them as being the girl toys. And a lot of my friends made fun of me because I had a Wonder Woman doll, but like I don't get it. They're super friends.
Right.
So yeah, I would have bought these because they're the heroines of a story which I really love and can see myself jumping into and learning from and having an impact on me.
Okay.
So it wouldn't have made sense to me at all. Do not get these toys. And going on a little tangent here, a friend of mine worked on Return of the Jedi, and she said that she had heard George Lucas say that I want to outsell teddy bears with Ewoks. And you know what? Okay, do it. Once again, if you can make money back from your investment by selling merchandise, I see nothing wrong with that. Once again, if it's not as overt as naming characters Lieutenant Mattel, then you're good. I think you're fine. Or having a price tag on a stormtrooper's armor. You know what? We're fine there. So when it comes down to it, the commercials, they're good-looking commercials.